What's happening, everybody, on this Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, the first day of the Schumer Shutdown, baby. The Schumer Shutdown, and I'm sure none of you have even noticed. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. As you can see, it's all anybody's talking about, the Chuck Schumer Shutdown. Things are not, they're not looking good for the Senate Majority Leader. Even CNN has to admit that. What can be expected from this government shutdown? We will go over all of that. Also, fake bomb threats. Well, I guess it's not really a fake bomb threat. It was a real bomb threat without a real bomb. All over American college campuses yesterday, garnering absolutely no news. Almost no news because of the shutdown, which just shows you how little the media actually cares about informing the public. The government is shut down, and I don't know. Checks notes. Nothing's changed. What are you going to do? Also, Josh Hawley goes off in the Senate. These are the things I'm going to miss. With a government shutdown. But let's dive right on in. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, wherever it is you may be watching from. Giddy up. Let's go. We rock, we roll here on LFA TV. Let's check this out. Let's see. There's some new stuff that I would like to show you guys. There's some new stuff I want to try to show you guys real quick. We are putting together hold on, let's get this ready. Boom. We are putting together a 250th collection here at the Loud Majority. You guys are going to want to check this out. Right now, there's only 6 items up there, but there absolutely will be more. The 250th collection, you guys can pick that up over at loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. There's only 6 items on there right now. We've even got stuff for kids. Look at this. From tea dumpers to trendsetters. That's right. If you want your kid to be absolutely awesome, you should probably go pick that up today. Check that out over at the 250 collection over at loudmajorityusa.com. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. For our Floridians, we've also got this fancy little Gulf of America hat. Check that out, guys. Go to loudmajorityusa.com, and if you've got everything you like over there, consider becoming a monthly donor. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. But you see the title of the show today, Bomb Threats Sweep the Nation, including one at the Turning Point USA event at Utah State yesterday. So, unfounded bomb threats happen at multiple Delaware universities, not only at multiple Delaware universities, including Delaware State and the University of Delaware, but also at Prairie View and Lone Star colleges. They were closed after a bomb threat in Alabama HBCU. There was also one, Monroe Community College had a bomb threat yesterday. Wild stuff. And of course, the one that everyone is talking about is the suspicious package that was found ahead of the Turning Point USA Utah State event. The building had been evacuated. An evacuation order had been issued at Utah State University after a suspicious package was found at the old main building. The evacuation occurred just before 2:45 local time. That comes from KU TV. The campus is scheduled to host the Turning Point USA event on Tuesday evening, though the package was found in a different area than the scheduled event. A video was released of people yelling, "Fire in the hole!" Lazaria, that's so funny. Yes, the sombrero memes are way too funny. They're way too funny. So, video surfaced of what appeared to be the police detonating what was this suspicious package. Now, we got word from Jack Posobiec last night on Timcast that it was a fake bomb in that it was meant to look like a bomb. Therefore, the video you are seeing right now, many people thought was a detonation of that device, but it was actually the police detonating the suspicious package.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! No way.
Now, regardless of whether or not that was the police detonating a suspicious package or not, the bomb threat still in and of itself on the same campus where, of course, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Absolutely wild. Jack Posobiec says, I'm told the suspicious package was in a different building at the Turning Point USA event. TPUSA volunteers are currently setting up the event, which will proceed any minute. And all clear message stated that the suspicious package was deemed to be a non-explosive device by authorities. Out of an abundance of caution, the bomb squad detonated the device. The old main building is now clear and safe, and all scheduled events may resume as normal. Speaking at the event was Utah Governor Spencer Cox, Senator Mike Lee, Rep. Andy Biggs, and former Rep. Jason Chaffetz. The event marks the first Turning Point event in the state following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Oh, I'm sorry. It was not at the it was at Utah State. Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley State. So quick correction there. Either way, terrifying. Either way, absolutely terrifying. Sorry about that. Too many Utah states. I don't know how many we need. But look, the bomb threats being called in at universities all over the country, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. As somebody who speaks on college campuses, which for my local audience, you'll get some updates on very, very soon. I've got a big event planned for the national audience. You'll get to see it as well. But, people who speak on college campuses, this is now a very real thing that we have to endure. This is a very real thing that we have to face. And people have shown absolutely no remorse whatsoever in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Over the course of the last several weeks, we've seen people continue to celebrate it, right the way up through the media. And the further and further away we get from that tragic event, the more and more people are going to feel comfortable coming out and saying how they actually feel at the time. The reporter for the Atlantic, Ta-Nehisi Coates, came out and basically all but justified the Charlie Kirk assassination, as did the author of the 1619 Project, Hannah Nicole Jones, in the pages of the New York Times. And I think this is going to be something that Democrats are going to have to get away from. We saw AOC do it. We saw, I believe, Ayanna Pressley, and I know we saw Ilhan Omar do it. Basically say, well, look, things happen. Things happen when you spew hate, whatever the hell that means. Here was Joe Rogan being shocked by it.
We're getting numb as a society of seeing people die.
Well, the Charlie Kirk thing fucking opened up my eyes.
Yeah.
I never expected so many people would celebrate that man's murder.
That is evil. That's
bizarre. It's just bizarre. Like normal people that I think they're good people, and they genuinely think that guy was a bad guy. And I don't think they're right, and I think they were indoctrinated. And I don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said or did.
I don't care if he was a bad guy or not.
He's not a bad guy.
I don't want to see him. I don't want to see anybody die.
First of all, he's fucking your age, right?
Yeah.
30, he's a young guy, right? And he would go around to college campuses and have arguments with people, or have discussions with people, have debates with people.
Yep.
But it infuriated people because they felt like this guy is going against the progress that was being made in society. But what he did not feel like was progress. Like it was a progressive agenda that was being pushed in most college campuses. It's a leftist, Marxist sort of agenda. He didn't feel like that was the correct way to live, and he felt like he had arguments against it, and he wanted. And it was, it's a business too, right? Like he developed this big social media platform because of it, and I don't, like I said, I don't agree. I don't think some of the things he said he should have said, but the fact that people were cheering when he died, normal people, housewives, moms, like fucking people working at banks, people working at various industries, celebrating a man getting shot in front of his kids. In the front of the whole world.
That's
like,
evil.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
And it's just really weird now.
It's really weird, and it's celebrated to hate people. And that's the weird part. And most of us know that that's wrong. And that's why, like, when this Charlie Kirk thing happens, there's a giant blowback, and most people recognize, like, hey, as a collectively, as a society, this is not right. Regardless of whoever that person is, whether that person's on the left or the right, they just got shot in front of the whole world. It's not a thing to celebrate ever. And especially when you're seeing people on the left that are supposed to be progressives. These are supposed to be the kind, compassionate, inclusive people that are celebrating gun violence, public execution. Like, that's insane. That's a public assassination. That's insane.
Of course, as the right continues to grab more and more bits of culture, the left is going to go more and more out of its way to be absolutely insane and do absolutely insane things. While Joe Rogan continues to be shocked at the fact that many Democrats out there will not either condemn or many will justify the death of Charlie Kirk. The old school, run-of-the-mill Hollywood people, the old-timers out there are still pushing the exact same playbook. Here is old Hanoi Jane Fonda, who is beginning to look more and more like her Madame Tussauds wax sculpture every single day. Ladies, if you're over the age of 80, accept it. You don't need this much filler. She's saying she plans to put up the resistance against the right and Donald Trump, and she's going to do it in a very creative way.
Our statement is when they come for one of us, they come from all of us. We're going to stand. Oh, I thought of this last night. We're going to engage in creative, nonviolent, non-cooperation. CNN.
We'll take it.
Good. I knew you would.
You have been in the political crosshairs of presidents before.
Wow. I'm scared. I'm really scared, Hanoi Jane. I guess that's what happens when you don't have somebody else writing your lines for you. The earmarks of the past culture we are seeing die directly in front of us as we begin to grab hold of the culture. We're seeing more and more winning in this scenario. And I've said it on this show numerous times, and people get mad at me because things aren't happening quickly enough, and I can understand that. But it took nefarious people like Jane Fonda like 50 years to lead to where we are right now. We're going to get it back in drips and drabs, but we're getting it back faster than I even thought possible, faster than many of us thought possible. And I'm excited about the prospect of it. I'm very excited about the prospect of it. Whether it is the death of cable news. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, speaking of TV, you guys remember that big bump that Jimmy Kimmel had after his canceling, and then he came back, and he had monster ratings? Yeah. They've collapsed again, back to what they were before. Because it turns out the left never really cared about Jimmy Kimmel. They just wanted to oppose whatever it was Donald Trump was doing. So Jimmy Kimmel is back to sucking yet again. Because they have no morals. They have no principles. It is simply about power. It is simply about being anti-Trump. That is how you get what happened yesterday. So yesterday, Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of War, made this crazy, he had a crazy idea. Wild thought that maybe, and I don't know where he's getting this from. I don't know where he's getting this idea from. But he came up with this crazy idea that maybe members of our military shouldn't be really, really fat. I don't know where he gets off making that sort of assumption that the people that we send to protect America ought to be in some sort of relative physical shape. I don't know where he gets off thinking that, like, if you're in the military, you should, be able to do a pull-up. I don't know where he gets off saying this. And, of course, the ladies of The View, they had to weigh in on this one. And Sunny Hostin, whose husband may or may not have robbed Medicaid for millions and millions of dollars, allegedly, supposedly. I would never make that sort of assumption on a show like this one. Quite possibly, it might have been him. Was it him? Was it not him? I'm really not sure. It could have been. It probably was, but I don't know. Sunny Hostin doesn't understand the difference between the Secretary of Defense and a gym teacher.
I'm actually really befuddled by why he did that. The optics were terrible, meaning all of our top military brass are all in one place, and we spent $6 million to get them there. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. It also didn't make a lot of sense to me that he was saying that he was going to toughen physical standards and review the anti-hazing policy by sort of implementing a hazing policy. And then also he said he was going to return to the highest male standard for combat positions because the troops were fat. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
Maybe he's referring to Colonel Sanders.
It was really a bizarre thing. He started talking about woke DEI policies. By the way, there are no gender quotas in the military. By the way, he fired more than a dozen military leaders, many of them people of color and women. He fired the chairman of the Joint Chief of...
So let me get this straight. There are no quotas, Sonny Hostin, but you go out of your way to say that he fired leaders, some of whom happen to not be white. That's DEI. It is you thinking that because a person is non-white, therefore they are immune from consequences. Now, many of our military leaders, I believe, should be held accountable, considering, the only people who lose more often than America are the New York Mets. Let's be honest here, we haven't won a war in a while. I would suggest that we don't get involved in these wars in the first place. But if we're going to, and we're going to spend $1 trillion on the damn Pentagon, that maybe we might be able to defeat an army of 8th century goat herders in flip-flops. I don't know. What a thought. What a thought. I mean, but then again, I also thought that when we spent $1 billion on an outfielder, we were going to make the playoffs. So really, it turns out money can't buy success. It turns out discipline does. And that's what Pete Hegseth is trying to instill in this military. There'll be no more beards in the military. People will be clean shaven. Jocko Willink actually has a great... Jocko Willink, for those of you who don't know who Jocko is, you absolutely should. He's got like some of the most inspiring motivational speeches. You've probably seen him on TikTok before. He was actually Chris Kyle's commanding officer in Iraq. But he talks about you can tell the discipline of a military by whether or not they shave or not. And I find it incredibly interesting. If you guys are interested, go check out, I just thought about this now, check out Jocko Willink's episode on the My Lai massacre that happened in Vietnam. That's the basis for Oliver Stone's terrible movie, Platoon. Terrible movie, by the way. Really, really bad film. Look, love everybody in it, but, Oliver Stone's a dick. But, the My Lai massacre, about how discipline breaks down in the military when people begin to stop shaving. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting little nugget. But he talked about how there will be uniformity when it comes to physical fitness in the military. Now, I don't understand why this is a problem. I don't understand why. Look, I have long said I don't have a problem with women being war fighters or firefighters or police officers, but let's take the example of firefighters. I'm 260, I'm like 250-ish, depending on whether I've had lunch or not. If you can pull me out of a burning building, then you can be a firefighter. I don't care what you got between your legs. I care what you got in your muscles, because it turns out you have to have that sort of thing. Carolyn, what's going on? Carolyn Simhauser, Stony Brook Turning Point. Let's go. I'm going to have an announcement on that coming up in a couple weeks. Very excited about that. But Pete Hegseth said that the physical fitness standards will be uniform in the military, which I don't really think is that big of a deal. However, the talking heads on CNN, they went apoplectic about this.
On the perception of the Defense Department right now. Watch and listen, and then we'll discuss. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
So what do you think? Is that a sound priority for the Secretary of Defense to explain right now?
Well, I think for the audience in that room, they understand that. They understood the importance of leading by, personal example, personal presence throughout the rank structure in the military, even prior to this venue today. So, I think that the Secretary of War wanted to emphasize that, and I'm sure that there's, millions of troops and service members listening to those remarks. But again, I don't think that standard that he laid out, the merit-based promotion system that he laid out, is contrary, frankly, to my experience in the military or what the expectations were of me as a military leader throughout my military career.
Yeah, I think that's important context, because the way that it was portrayed is that there had been decades of decay, essentially. And so I think it is important for our audience to understand what was happening, what is happening now, and also what's going on when it comes to training recruits, because you heard Secretary Cohen, Hegseth, say he wants to reform how training is done. Let's listen and then talk.
Basic training is being restored to what it should be: scary, tough, and disciplined. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits, ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits.
What do you make of those comments from the Defense Secretary?
I'm not sure what he is suggesting there. Do I want to see our troops be fit and conform to the best standard possible, both in grooming and also in physical capability? Absolutely. But the question is, do you want your soldiers to operate under fear or through admiration? I'd like to think that leadership is a combination. Yes, you want to fear that you may be punished for something you don't measure up to, but you also want to admire the people who are leading you.
Admire them? I find this incredibly odd. Do you know what kinds of people get admired? People who are admirable. Currently in the military, and look, I want to be clear, I didn't serve in the military. I wish I had. I didn't make that choice. But currently we have 37 4-star generals in the military. During World War II, we had 4. I don't know. That seems like a lot of weight at the top. And it turns out, I'm sure many of you have scrolled TikTok and Instagram Reels. Many of you have seen what they do during basic training, where they break you down and they build you back up into what they want you to be. That's what you signed up for. That's what you signed up for. And I'm not saying it's good. And look, I want to be clear here. Anybody who's going to go out there and talk about how the military is going to start beating troops, that's not what he's talking about. And everyone knows the difference with that. It's like when people make the argument about hitting your kids. There is a difference between discipline and abuse. And everyone knows what that is. And anyone who tries to blur that line for some sort of political gain is either making the argument for a softer world, or they're being purposely disingenuous. And I really hate both of them. But the world is going apoplectic over the fact that Pete Hegseth thinks that drill sergeants should be kind of a dick. I don't know. It's not a therapy session. You're not joining the military so you can see the world. Doesn't seem all that odd to me. People are losing their ever-loving mind over it. Guys, we're going to get to the Schumer Shutdown in just a second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Well, it's that time of year again, isn't it? My favorite time of year. Fall. Oh, I love the leaves. I love the autumn smell. I love the pumpkins. I love it all. Right before the snow flies. But what I don't love that comes with the cold weather and the fall weather is the flu, are the sniffles, the cold. all those common cold sniffles that you get every year. And if you have kids in the house, little kids going to and fro school, and they're coming back and they're touching everything and they're bringing the bacteria and all those viruses home from school, you don't want anything to do with that. You want to be proactive rather than reactive. That's why we're going to talk about propolis today. You know what propolis is? Well, ladies and gentlemen, propolis is what works as a barrier to keep the beehive absolutely safe. And what am I talking about? Well, beekeepers naturals. Now, my wife really turned me on to this. This is an endorsement of my wife and then myself as well. Beekeepers naturals, folks, that is exactly what this is. This is a proactive rather than a reactive, all natural, all clean alternative to big food and big pharma. You've got your beekeepers vitamin C packs, which are perfect for on the go, right? You've got your Beekeepers Propolis nasal spray. A few shots up the nose, clears out your nostrils, cleans any congestion that you have, and it's all natural, and it's going to work as a proactive barrier to any of that unwanted bacteria getting in. How about the Beekeepers All Natural Propolis Immune Throat Spray? 3 or 4 pumps of that a day, and anything that you're breathing in is going to be either repelled or killed right away. That's the amazing thing about propolis, and that is the amazing thing about Beekeepers Naturals. And I got a 20% discount for you. What's better than that? 20% discount. Look, you can even get the throat soothing pops and the kids prebiotic fiber pops, along with the throat spray, along with the nasal spray, along with the vitamin C packs. Folks, they've got it all, and it's an all-natural, clean, beautiful option for you to have in order to, get away from the big food, get away from the big pharma, and go more natural, especially with a 20% discount. How can you not go to Beekeepers Naturals today /LFA and get your 20% discount? Clean out your medicine cabinet today with beekeepers.com /LFA. And now back to the show.
So the Schumer shutdown has begun. Pretty wild stuff, despite the fact that Speaker Thune has given them every possible opportunity to not let the government shut down. Chuck Schumer seems to be dead set on keeping it closed. Now, yesterday, the vote went down with one Republican, Rand Paul, voting against the budget, which he always does. Also, 3 Democrats voting for it. That would be Angus King of Maine, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, and Mastro, I always forget the second half of her name, from Nevada. Sorry, I just forgot what your name was. John Thune even decided he was going to give them a second chance to pass the bill. He gave them another opportunity today.
Our House colleagues for doing the work. You sent us a clean, continuing resolution. Unfortunately, we are here this morning in a government shutdown that Democrats wanted. Chuck Schumer, at the behest of a bunch of liberal, far-left activist groups, has walked his Democrat colleagues into a boxed canyon. There's no way out, folks. There's no way out. This could have been avoided. It's totally unavoidable. And everybody's now asking the question, how does this end? Well, it ends when the Senate Democrats pick this bill up, passed by the House of Representatives, and vote for it. It's on the floor of the Senate. We're going to vote later this morning on this, 24 pages. Does this look partisan? Does this look dirty to you? 24 pages to fund the government. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. The House kept it simple. We kept it simple in the Senate. This is something, as the Speaker noted, that 13 times in the past Senate Democrats have done when they were in the majority and Joe Biden was in the White House. This is a very straightforward issue. It's not complicated.
So there is Leader Thune standing with the Senate leadership as well as House leadership saying, look, we're going to give the Democrats another chance to pass this thing. And, of course, given the opportunity, Democrats didn't do it. At about 2:30 today, the vote went down again, 53-47.
The Senate is now finished with that procedural vote on the House-backed Republican proposal And this has to do with breaking the filibuster because they want to get to funding the government. At least I hope Democrats want to get to that. I don't know. Theirs failed earlier, and this was the Republican vote. We don't expect these to necessarily pass, but remember, you get to see who's on the record, particularly among the Dems, who's going to pull over. Democrats lost a couple of votes yesterday on this. It's 55-45 in terms of yeas and nays on this one. 2 Democrats and 1 independent voted with Republicans yesterday, and that seems to hold again now. So that's particularly what I'm watching for. Senator John Fetterman, Senator Catherine Cortez Mastro, and independent Angus King of Maine are still yeses. So they're voting with Republicans on their version of a continuing resolution at this point. This while the government remains shut down. Democrats, I don't know what they'll do next, but if they continue to lose members, you got to get to 60. So we are watching this very closely. Majority Leader John Thune is forcing these votes today and will likely continue to do so in the days ahead in an effort to get Democrats to open the government, but also get them on the record for not wanting to participate in keeping the government open.
So when given 2 possible opportunities, Democrats continue to keep the government closed. Now, you're going to keep hearing this sort of, this is on Donald Trump, this is that, this and that. The part of this that I find so challenging is Republicans have voted to keep the government open, Democrats have voted to close it, and Democrats are out there trying to make the claim that somehow this is our fault. Now, with all that being said, historically, the longer a government shutdown goes on for, the more likelihood the executive, whomever it may be, will be blamed by the general public. However, I think that we are in a bit of a different time right now. Why do I say that? The MAGA base is united. We're in this for the long haul. Many people, like myself, are saying, keep the damn thing closed. I don't really care. My life hasn't been affected any. And my life will continue to not be affected any. So we will see what that will do. Frank Luntz was over on CNN. Frank Luntz, the famous pollster, was over there saying that, look, it is hard to see how this doesn't hurt Democrats. Before we get to that, though, guys, do me a favor and hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out wherever it is you may be watching from. Show me, let me know where you guys might be watching from. I love to see all the good stuff in the comments. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below. It really helps out the algorithm. Gets this to more eyeballs. So, Frank Luntz. How's it going, Michelle? So, Frank Luntz went on CNN and basically had to admit, yeah, you know, this is going to hurt the Democrats more than it's going to hurt the Republicans.
I wonder what you make of this New York Times Siena College poll, Frank, that shows President Trump's approval rating largely unchanged since April, yes, but those groups, some of which you just named, that propelled his campaign last year, Hispanic voters, voters under 30, his net approval has dropped significantly. Should he be concerned about that?
He should be concerned about it, and the Democrats should be concerned because their numbers have dropped even further. When you ask about how well Donald Trump has handled some of these issues, he gets lukewarm, mediocre, sometimes even a little bit negative evaluations. But more impactfully for this election, the Democrats are doing even worse. So basically, there's disappointment with the White House. There is annoyance with the Democratic opposition. If you ask me who's in a better position, I would say to you that history says the Democrats should win. But based on where things stand right now, you have to give the Republicans the edge, even with a shutdown that could happen tonight.
Frank Luntz, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Up next, President Trump announcing a deal with Pfizer to bring...
J.D. Vance, for his part, took to the press room. No, this isn't the press room clip. Took to Fox News this morning to talk about how, look, it's just this. Yeah, took to Fox News this morning to talk about what all Chuck Schumer is doing, because Chuck Schumer is absolutely terrified. He's absolutely terrified of his radical left-wing base, and we're going to explain why in just 1 second. Here was JD on the shutdown.
This is a Democrat talking point. They say we're not actually trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens, and here's why it's not true. There are 2 Biden-era programs that explicitly gave the taxpayer health care money to illegal aliens that we turned off when President Trump took over in January. Program number 1 is there's a lot of emergency health care at hospitals that are provided to illegal aliens. That was funded by the federal government. We turned off that funding because, of course, we want American citizens to benefit from those hospital services, not to be taxed and then to have those hospital services go to illegal aliens. The second of which is the Biden administration gave mass parole to millions upon millions of illegal aliens, and then they simultaneously made those parolees eligible for health care benefits funded by taxpayers. In the One Big Beautiful Bill, President Trump and congressional Republicans turned off that money to health care funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats want to turn it back on. And in their initial proposal, the first thing that they put out to reopen the government, they actually turned that money for health care benefits for illegal aliens back on. So it's not something that we made up. It's not a talking point. It is in the text of the bill that they initially gave to us to reopen the government. It's preposterous for them to run away from it now. But look, let's set that all to the side. Let's open up the government. Let's negotiate on all of these healthcare policy issues. Obviously, we're not going to support healthcare benefits for illegal aliens, but we will work with them to lower healthcare costs for American citizens if they're willing to do so.
And look, here's what Democrats did. And they played dirty games with dirty words. Technically, they are not giving health insurance to illegal aliens. What they did was, by expanding what legal immigrant meant, that subsequently put all these people on the pathway to getting taxpayer health care. What do I mean by that? Well, when Joe Biden moved the refugee status to basically anyone from Venezuela, anyone from Cuba, anyone from Haiti, that then made them eligible, despite still being illegal aliens. All they did was make more people technically legal residents. And because they were legal residents under the refugee program, that then made them eligible for taxpayer-funded health insurance. And all the Republicans are saying is, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. But Chuck Schumer is terrified of his radical left-wing flank. And it's probably because, as I've been saying forever now, AOC is going to primary Chuck Schumer in 2026 for that Senate seat. And I want to be clear, she's going to win it. And I'm actually excited about it. You know why? Because while Republicans remain united around their one candidate in New York, only Stefanik, while we remain united, Democrats are going to be having a pissing match over their neoliberal establishment candidates like Kathy Hochul and Chuck Schumer, and their more progressive left-wing candidates, Richie Torres, Zorhan Mondani, AOC. What does that mean election-wise? Well, what that means is they're going to blow through a lot of money on a primary. And that's money they're not going to be able to spend in a general election against our one united candidate, Elise Stefanik. That's money they're not going to be able to spend downstream in the New York State Senate races or in the congressional races. Now, Republicans, we will be united around our candidates. I think Stefanik is perfect for governor. There may be congressional candidates that you're not the biggest fans of, but we will remain united around them in order to keep the House. And how do I know that AOC is going to primary Chuck Schumer? Well, she made a very odd claim last night on MSNBC. She said that if Senate Republicans wanted to negotiate, that they should just go straight to her office. Why would they do that? She's in the House. The House of Representatives has already passed the bill. So why would they go to AOC's office to negotiate with her on a Senate bill unless she was already throwing her name in?
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like somebody who's already got their name picked out in the Senate. That sounds like somebody who already knows that they're going to be in the United States Senate. And look, for all the negatives about AOC, and there are plenty, she understands the medium and the world in which we are currently living in. Where Chuck Schumer, on the other hand, is living in the past. I'm going to show you evidence of this in just a second before we...
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, beating AOC could be difficult, but do you know what's not difficult? Switching banks over to Old Glory Bank. That's oldglorybank.com. Head on over to oldglorybank.com. Giddy up, let's go. Giddy up, let's go. Head on over to oldglorybank.com. So here's Chuck Schumer not understanding the world in which he currently lives. Listen to him melting down on CNN, talking about how Democrats are going to be on the TV wires. I'm not really sure what that means.
Help me. Well, Democrats want to help. Republicans thus far don't, but now that I think they've seen that they can't bully us into just passing their bill, which does nothing, zero for American health care, and has not had any Democratic input, despite the fact that we've asked to sit down with them week after week and month after month, they will now see that. And we're going to be out there fighting, John. So Democrats are going to be all over the TV wires, all over the districts, protesting, all over the social media. And the American people are on our side. The polls show that something like 80% don't like the big, bad, beautiful, the big, beautiful, it's bad, ugly bill that they have put forward.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How inspired are you right now? How inspired are you to get out and... I have no idea what. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. Of course, Chuck Schumer doesn't understand that the internet actually lasts forever. So when he goes on TV and says, we need to stand by our principles and we need to fight, and we're going to be all over the airwaves doing that, John Berman, then immediately drops this on him because Chuck Schumer doesn't understand that comments from the past are still on the internet.
One of the things that Republicans are also doing, and they're doing in the White House press briefing room, is the running sound of Democrats talking about shutdowns in the past, including sound of you. This is the type of thing you've said about shutdowns in the past. Let's listen.
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down, I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way? It's a politics of idiocy, of confrontation, of paralysis. Shutting down government over a policy difference is self-defeating. We can never hold American workers hostage again. While the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
Meh. That's a little awkward. That's a little awkward. Chuck Schumer doesn't understand that the internet actually lasts forever. Actually lasts forever. And he is a defeated man right now. He does not know which way is up. And even if he did know which way is up, he's completely not inspiring whatsoever. I would not want to get out and I don't know. If I were a left-winger and I were going to get out in the street, Chuck Schumer would not be, this guy would not be the one I'd be doing it for.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I'm proud to be joined by my colleagues, Senators Durbin, Murray, and Klobuchar. So we see now Republicans are plunging America into a shutdown, rejecting bipartisan talks, pushing a partisan bill, and risking America's health care, worst of all. A few moments ago, Republicans once again rejected Democrats' proposals to avoid a shutdown, fix health care premiums, and spare Americans the calamity of skyrocketing through the roof health care costs. Republicans blocked it again, once again. So now 2 times, Republicans have failed to get enough votes to avoid a shutdown. They've got to sit down and negotiate with Democrats to come to a bill that both parties can support. They didn't do that in the past. Their bill, they call it clean, we call it totally partisan. There was no input from Democrats. Not a single line in their bill had input from Democrats. They never consulted us. Thune didn't consult me. Johnson.
I mean, seriously, is anybody inspired by that guy? Is anyone inspired by him? Yeah, let's get the new generation out there. Let's get the new band of leaders out there. He absolutely sucks. We're going to talk about a new generation of leaders in just a second because Time Magazine actually put together a very interesting list. And for all the people out there who don't think that we're winning, for all the people out there who believe that we still are like taking it on the chin and we're not making strides, I got proof for you that this is absolutely going to change. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD. Guys, once again, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching on Rumble, hit that repost button. It really helps get the show to more people. We are making sort of cultural dents right now. We really are. And for those of you who don't think so, every year, Time Magazine puts out its list of like top 100, top 100 most influential people. And normally it is the people you would think. It's musicians, it's actors, it's activists, it's artists, it's all that crap. Well, this year, under their leaders tag, we've got, just from our side of the aisle, Donald Trump Elon Musk, Howard Lutnick, J.D. Vance, Megyn Kelly, Bobby Kennedy, Russ Vought, and Javier Milei. Now, obviously, Milei is a little nuts. But that is not the part where I'm talking about making dents. This year, they also introduced a new segment to this called Time Magazine's Top 100 Next list. Next. These are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. And on that list was Carolyn Levitt, Erica Kirk, Barry Weiss, Byron Donalds, and my friend Alex Brusewitz. First off, the fact that one of my friends is on there, that's pretty awesome. But it's the sort of the one I find the most interesting about that list. Obviously, there are leaders within the Republican Party. The one I find on there to be the most interesting is Barry Weiss. Why? Because Barry Weiss, while a liberal, she's married to a chick, has been pushing the sort of non-woke propaganda that has really been, I think, bogging down our culture for the last decade or so. And we're beginning to put Democrats, the left, on the back foot when it comes to their woke nonsense. What do I mean by that? Well, one thing we will miss out on during this government shutdown is the Senate hearings. Now, you know I love a good Senate hearing. I love a good Senate hearing as much as the next guy because I am a dork. I am an absolute complete dork. And I might be the only person on planet Earth that watches Senate hearings. But we continue to see Democrats get put on the back foot when they are brought to testify. I don't know who this guy is. I really don't. But he was brought as a Democratic witness. And watch Josh Hawley just spit out his own nonsense to him, and watch how flustered this guy gets.
When your executive director said you wanted to defund the police, do you renounce this report? Mr. Jackson, do you renounce the report that you authored as executive director? Here it is.
You're the second senator to bring up an op-ed or
this isn't an op-ed. This is your report, a policymaker's playbook to reduce gun violence without policing communities.
Okay.
Community Justice Action Fund, copyright 2023, when you were executive director. Now you say you don't know anything about it. Now you say that you haven't heard of it. Just like the Democrats who all of a sudden say, oh, we're all for the police. They've been advocating defunding them for years.
Okay, well, you can look at documents or you can look at
results. My question is, do you renounce this report now? You say you no longer agree with this.
And my answer is that I led the efforts to invest $42 billion in law enforcement.
You've advocated defunding the police as executive director of an organization that you still lead and are affiliated with.
Never see me advocate for that directly. What you see me advocate for
is
a comprehensive approach to reducing violence.
Right. The comprehensive approach is defunding the police, which is what this says the entire time. This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender nonconforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This is from your report.
If you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
You say that you shouldn't invest in the police, but we ought to invest in two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit individuals.
We are not going to discriminate
what is that?
We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit that
what
wants
is
to help us prevent violence in our community.
What is two-spirit? You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
you
the spirit
wrote the
of how that was
report.
written. But what I'm telling you is that what
is a two-spirit individual? I mean, really, this is your policymaker's playbook. You are the witness called by the Democrats on this committee, so I assume you reflect their views. Well, you don't want to fund the police. You want to fund safe spaces for two-spirit individuals. What is a two-spirit person?
I feel like I'm looking at a two-faced individual because you talk about reducing
violence. Oh, no, sir.
Violence.
You're looking at somebody who's reading you your own words, and I'd like to hear an answer.
Programs.
Here's the answer. The answer is You don't have any solutions. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe. And when you're called on the record, you deny it. It's all there in black and white. And your record is there in black and white, and it's a disgrace.
We reduced homicides by 31%. And as someone who's been shot and nearly killed, I take offense that you would think that the last 13
that you
years
won't answer my
we're not
questions,
focused on
that you
reducing
deny your
violence.
own words, and that you are leading this committee astray. And frankly, sir, your policies are absurd. They're absurd.
I don't think we're getting any place, so let's...
I want to be clear. I could watch that all day long. I could watch it all day long. It's absolutely spectacular to see. It's spectacular to see that someone is actually... And look, I know a lot of people think that these Senate hearings mean absolutely nothing. And you know what? I think you're slightly right. But if we did nothing else in this government, eradicating that crap would be it. We could just start by getting rid of that. Tomorrow, on tomorrow's show, we're going to play a rant by Bill Maher that will show you that exact sort of thing. Guys, we are wrapping up the day here. What do we got left? Got about 2 minutes left. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Before we leave, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming monthly donors over at lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. We can't do this without your help. For the next minute or so, I think we'll have a little bit of fun. You know what? Let's jump back over to loudmajorityusa.com because we ended the show a little bit early today. Guys, loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop or consider becoming a monthly donor by clicking that donate button at the very top of the screen. This will be the page that will come up if you do. You can subscribe to become a monthly donor over at the Loud Majority. We really do appreciate the support as always. And for our local audience, baby, this Saturday, giddy up, let's go! The 6th annual Montauk Rally, the 6th annual Ride to the End. I hope you guys can all make it. We'll be at the Massapequa train station from 10 to 12, hanging out. We may have some special guests, may have some friends stopping on by at the Massapequa train station. Flags up at noon, and we are headed out east. If you're already living out east, feel free to jump in anywhere along Sunrise Highway. We do it every year. I know there's going to be a crew of people meeting up at the Patchogue trains at the Patchogue Party City, which apparently is closed. So just kind of hang out along the side of the road, and we'll jump in there. Guys, Pete Santilli is coming up next here on LFA TV. He should be getting ready, rocking and rolling and rocking. I hope to see you guys all there, and make sure you stay tuned for all the updates all day long here, rumble.com/LFATV. Also, if you guys wouldn't mind doing me a favor, head on over to rumble.com/LoudMajorityUS. That's my private page. It really helps me out. Just click that follow button over there. Pete Santilli is coming. He should be getting ready any minute now. Should be getting ready any minute now. Also, for the local audience on Sunday, I'll be at the St. James Street Fair. Come on down and say hello. We got a jam-packed weekend of patriotism, voter registration stuff, all the good stuff. All the good stuff. Very good. Very, very good. Guys, we will be back tomorrow live at 3 p.m. Until then, everybody, stay loud.